Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning in to the Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about separation on the Twin Flame Path. What does separation mean, right? What is it? What are we talking about when we're saying that the masculine and the feminine are in separation, or that we have been in separation for 6 months, 2 years, or if we use the phrase, I hope we don't go into separation again, or we just keep going in and out of separation. What are we talking about, right? What's actually going on the Twin Flame journey if we're talking about these things? So I want to first say that separation in and of itself, and the way that the human condition views separation, means that you're over here and I'm over there. We're separate from one another, right? We are in separation basically means through our normal definition or label, we're broken up. We're broken up right now. You know, we're not seeing each other right now. We're not talking to each other right now. We're in some sort of physical separation from one another right now. This is what everyone is referring to, not everyone, but most people are referring to when we talk about being in separation on the Twin Flame Path. So what separation actually means on the Twin Flame Path, and what it means on the Awakening Ascension Path, is that you are operating from separation consciousness. What does this mean? This means that you are currently operating from ego conditioning, and that ego conditioning has separated you from unity consciousness, which is your higher self, God, source, creation, whichever terminology we want to use. So the reason that we go into physical separation with the Twin Flame, and why that might occur on and off and whatever else, 6 months, 2 months, 3 years, whatever, back and forth, quicker, shorter intervals, however it might work. The reason that that happens is because the twins, namely the Divine Feminine, because the Divine Feminine leads, not gender specific, is running separation consciousness, right? So basically this means is that the Divine Feminine, and no, we don't constantly have to feel like this is on the Divine Feminine's shoulders, yada, yada, yada. You guys can watch my video on does the Divine Feminine have to suffer? No, you don't. However, there is one twin who leads this path and leads this journey, and that is in this situation, the feminine. So when the feminine is in a place of separation consciousness, which means they are running their imprints, their programs, they believe that there is a difference between them and their twin. Just me saying that, them and their twin, is actually a separation consciousness sentence. And it's saying that I believe that my Divine Masculine is separate from me. I believe that my Divine Masculine is not my same soul. I believe that my Divine Masculine does not share my same energetic blueprint and my same unified field, right? That's what separation consciousness means. It means that you believe that they are someone other than you, that they are not sharing your same soul. So this is where the Twin Flame situation gets tied up in knots, and where it's a continual paradox. And so we're always flipping things inside out. Everything's sort of inverted. Everything is like, it seems like it means one thing when actually it means something else. And so this path, this is one of the reasons that this path has most twins looking in the wrong direction, right? Going in the wrong way, thinking the wrong thing, because it's actually flipped on its head, right? And so in order to decode the Twin Flame dynamic, which is what needs to happen for you to actually be in union, is to start understanding that what the normal human conditioning would say union is or separation is, in our definition and label, that's actually not what it is when we're talking about awakening and the Twin Flame path. So the separation consciousness, which means, again, you're operating from ego patterns, ego programs, karmic conditioning, trauma conditioning, whatever wounds that you may have taken on, whatever's going on energetically that is creating some sort of block. And then the ego, which is the inner mind, the inner chatter, is creating all of these stories about all of these things. It's saying like, you know, I have this definition and this label. You guys have heard me say this stuff all the time, getting tongue-tied. You guys hear me talk about this stuff all the time. The programs, the imprints, the labels, the definitions, all of these things, the inner chatter, this is all ego. It's all ego programming. That inner voice that you're always hearing talking to you constantly, that is your ego. The ego is running from a place of fear and lack and separation. That separation is what we're talking about. Didn't mean to shoot you guys a bird. That separation is what we're talking about when we're saying, I'm in separation from my twin. What it actually means, and the reason this occurs, is because you are in separation from you. You are in a place where you feel that your ego is you. You are identifying with ego as the self. The ego is identifying itself as the programs, the patterns, the wounds, and the me and them, right? It's not identifying itself, or you're not identifying yourself as your true self, which is unity consciousness. And this is where union comes in. Am I in union with my twin, right? Which really means is, am I in union with self? Am I in inner union at this point, right? Have I done the transmutation and the inner work and all of these sort of things on my awakening path that have brought me back into oneness, that have brought me back into neutrality? That's what union is. That's what unity consciousness is. That's where you have to be on this path in order to come out of the separation. So the more we're running the separation program, which is mental, right? We're doing that mental chatter thing, and we're attaching ourselves to all of these different labels, and then we're applying those to the twin flame path. As long as we keep doing that, the physical separation will continue to show up over and over and over again. Because as long as we're doing that, it basically means that we are not in a place where we are surrendering to the ascension process. We're not surrendering to our higher self. We're not surrendering to the awakening process. And this is why I talk about this so much on this channel, and I'll continue to talk about it, is that if you're not going through an awakening and going through ascension, and you haven't had all of these energetic shifts and the dark night of the soul and all of these things going on, then at this point you're not dealing with a twin flame. And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. The twin flame path is the hardest thing probably that anyone will ever do. But it does mean that potentially that you're in a soulmate connection or a karmic connection or something along those lines. That doesn't mean that other connections can't trigger growth, soul growth and things. It can. But the twin flame specifically, the divine masculine comes in to activate the divine feminine to go through the process of a true spiritual awakening. That true spiritual awakening is what's going to start shifting your ego self. It's going to start questioning all of the things that you have aligned to, believed in, attached to, all the stories that you've told about whatever it is, all the programs that are going on, all the traumas and the wounds and all of these sort of things that the ego identifies itself with and has all of our lives. These things start coming up for question. And so if we push back against this, if we're on the awakening path, we're on the twin flame path, and we start resisting these things as they come up, which the ego will do. You know, I don't want to face this. I don't want to look at this. I'm having an ego battle with you. You know, it's your wounds against my wounds. You know, my DM isn't waking up. Is he ever going to wake up? You know, my DF has all these issues. You know, blah, 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 blah. All that's ego. Every single thing that I just said is an ego mechanism. And that is why this path feels so damn difficult. for almost everybody on it, because we're so used to thinking in that way and to processing information in that way that we don't know that there's another way. I talked about this in, I think, my recent video, 2 videos ago. I don't have them numbered. I should probably number them at some point. But the thing is that the more that we're feeding into that inner chatter of I'm damaged and I have this issue and you have that issue, and I'm defending this wound, or I'm in my warrior strong energy and I'm this, all of that is an ego game. I call it the 3D game. And we've all been playing the 3D game for as long as we've been playing it through all of our incarnations. But as long as we continue to play it, is as long as we're going to stay in separation consciousness, because that's what it is, which breeds fear and lack, which is going to keep us from our inner self, right? Keeps us from embodying the higher self, which is the whole point that you got triggered to go onto this path in the first place, is to break out of that separation consciousness and to break into the unity consciousness and to come back into the embodiment of your higher self, which is where the twin flame exists. This is where unity exists. I think I've said this in probably at least the last 3 or 4 of my videos, and I'm going to continue to say it because it's such an important, it's like the key poignant point that we have to really understand. And it's not like wrap our head around. I use that phrasing a lot, but this isn't wrapping your head around it. It's actually releasing the wrapping your head around it and coming back into that higher knowing, right? Coming back into that place that I am consciousness. I am consciousness. I am God's source creation here embodied, having this physical experience of separation. But now I've gone through an awakening, and that awakening is triggering me to come out of that separation consciousness, right? To come out of the back and forth, the arguing, the ups and downs, all the shit, all the chatter, all the stuff, that's got all of these labels and definitions and the things that keep us small, as I've said in a lot of other videos. The twin flame is in your world as you, assisting you to break free from that version of you that was never you, and to come back into the embodiment that is you, which is your higher self. And so separation is that. Separation is I'm operating from ego right now. And since I'm operating from ego right now, there is a me and a them. And because that I see my twin as a me and a them, I am believing that we are separate. So that means that my system is still running a separation program. And so until I break out of that separation program, we're going to continue to be in separation, because I'm resisting what's coming up for me to see, to clear, to transmute, right? Because I'm still operating from ego. So I'm operating from separation. So everything in my external reality, as within, so without, shows up as separation, including my twin, especially my twin, because my twin is my same incarnate self. So if I believe that I am separate from them, they're going to make sure that they are looking separate from me. That's the way it is. As I said, as within, so without, as above, so below. So as soon as you come into that inner union, right? As soon as you come into unity consciousness, this is what actual twin flame union is as well. So if I am in inner union with self, embodying the higher self, and I have dropped separation consciousness, then I am naturally going to be attracting my same self, who is my twin flame, because now I don't see the separation. The separation isn't there anymore because I'm not running the ego program anymore that is telling me that it is there. This is the key on this path. This is the main key on this path. So as I've said in my last couple of videos, I am actually now starting to work on creating a course, a twin flame course. I know there are tons of twin flame courses out there, so whoever resonates with me, great. I'm not pushing courses, but I am starting to outline this, and I am going to be working on it and releasing it in the next couple of months. 2025, January is when I'm recording this right now. For anyone who may be interested down the road in a couple months to work on these things and to really come out of it. I've been on this path for a long, long time. I know how painful it is. I know how looping it is. I know how easy it is to just get stuck and to hit walls and over and over and over again. So yeah, so that's what I have for you guys today. I hope that that makes sense. I know that the ego, and this is going to be the case for anybody going through an awakening path, whether you're a twin or not, but especially if you're a twin, because this kind of makes it doubly hard, honestly, when you're dealing with your other self all the time, it's very easy to fall back into the patterns and the programs that the mind wants to run, that the mind has always been running our whole life. And so even as I'm making this video, I know a lot of people will get triggered by it. I know a lot of people get triggered by a lot of the things that I say, which is why I mention things a lot of times in my videos. If you're feeling triggered right now, right? If there's a trigger coming up for you right now, that to stop and look at that. As I've said in one of my other videos, triggers are the gold mines. Triggers are the places that come up within us that are actually keeping us from our own freedom. And they're actually keeping us from our unity, right? It's keeping us from unity. So if a trigger does come up, and if you feel triggered by this video or any other videos, not only my videos, but other videos that people do on this topic, is to really stop and just be like, okay, this is my ego right now. This is my ego trying to get my attention right now. And it's my ego trying to get me to pay attention to some sort of wound or trauma or pattern or program that I've likely been running for a really long time. So instead of allowing my ego to put a Band-Aid on that wound again, or to sort of cover it up or distract myself, maybe I need to be like, okay, why is my ego continually sort of running this program? Why am I allowing myself to continue to get triggered every time this thing gets, activated? Because that's actually what's going on. And that activation is coming up for you when you get triggered. For your higher self is basically saying, hey, let's let this go. Let's let this go. And so that's really what this twin flame path is about. It's what awakening is about. It's getting to that point where you're actually freeing yourself from all of these things that we've identified with all of our lives. So as difficult as this path feels, and God knows I know, it is still one of the greatest gifts that you could be, I say been given. It's not been given. You came into this incarnation knowing you were going to go through this. And your higher self is you, right? That's another one I keep saying. Remember that your higher self is you without all the programs, right? So it's your higher self that's guiding you. It's your higher self that's saying, okay, it's time for this trigger and this trigger and this trigger. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that helps. Have an awesome day.